Stephen M. Smith on the line from Touchdown, Alabama. You can also join him on his show, The Way It Is, Fox 97.9, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 Central Time, talking up the tide with Bama just about halfway through spring practice. Everybody gets those 15 sessions, and Alabama culminates their spring workouts on April 21st at the A-Day game. Stephen, quarterback battle in college, much different than the NFL. Typically, I'm going to say out of the 32 teams in the NFL, we know the starter going into the first week of practice, even for 27 or 28 of those teams. It's very rare based on contract status, based on seniority, and the best guy being just simply the best guy. But with the influx of people coming in and out of the program across the college ranks, you know what the deal is. We've got quarterback battles going on at Ohio State and Clemson and USC and Oklahoma and all over the place, a ton of other places, Miami included. And this is just the way it is in college football. So what happens is, whether it's in the spring or in August, if a guy has a bad day, if somebody sees that guy threw an interception on that particular day, or this guy had a really good session running the 2-minute drill, suddenly, boom, they spring to the top of the perception of who's leading the quarterback battle. But not necessarily is that the case. We've got, of course, Tua Tagovailoa and his accomplishments at the national championship game versus the more experienced Jalen Hurts. Have we heard anything about what's happened through the first couple of weeks, and if that gives us any kind of indication of what's going on?
Well, Nick Saban came out during the early part of March and talked with ESPN's Chris Lowe about wanting to play both quarterbacks, seeing how both guys bring a different dynamic to the team that the team respects. But, I mean, let's just be honest. Saban's going to play up the two quarterback talk until the first week of the season, when Alabama takes on Louisville and Orlando, and whoever really runs that team the way it's supposed to be ran, with success, with continuity, with flow within the offense, is going to ultimately win that job. I look back at the national championship game, and to see Tua Tagovailoa go in there cold, and yes, he got some playing experience throughout the 2017 season, played against Colorado State, played against Fresno State, played against Ole Miss, played against Tennessee, played against Vanderbilt. He got time on the field, but in a meaningful game where everything's on the line, it's either you win that championship or Georgia walks away with its first national title since 1980. And for Tagovailoa to come off that bench cold and give you 3 touchdown passes, including the game winner to Devontae Smith in overtime, it has to galvanize your team. It has to win that team over. The team feels a certain vibe towards Tua, but at the same time, you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, who does not lose you a lot of ball games, 26-2 with him in there, does not turn the ball over a lot, very much so wants to protect that football, and that's something that Nick Saban idolizes, because he's all about the ball, protect the ball, know where that ball is at all times. So he's going to play up this 2 quarterback conversation, but by the first week of the season, we're going to all see who's really, really running that team. Right now, when Tua's out there, the receivers feel like, they can catch the football, they can pick up their numbers, they can pick up their stats, they're eating, they're doing what they have to do. When Jalen's out there, he possesses that cool, calm demeanor, and people flock to that. But at the end of the day, going through spring, going through summer workouts and fall camp, whomever wins this job between these two, Mark, is going to be well prepared, because they're both pushing each other to the brink. And there's also a third name in this quarterback conversation that not a lot of people talk about, and that third name is Mac Jones, the rising sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida. And this guy can sling the pigskin. Nobody talks about him, but he's got one of the prettier deep balls I have seen in a very long time. I've gotten a chance to talk to a couple of players, a couple of guys on the training staff, and when this guy is on, he is on. He can spin it. He's got a very quiet confidence about him, but just his arm mechanics reminds me a lot of A.J. McCarron, during his time at Alabama. So Mac Jones, do not just cast this kid to the side. He can play, he can sling it. I like what he brings to the table, but just going back into the battle, within the battle, being Jalen and Tua, this will go more than likely into the first week of the season.
I was digging around for some Mac Jones highlights as you spoke there. 17th rated pro-style quarterback in his class, according to 247 Sports. And as you mentioned, out of Jacksonville, Florida. Very, very intriguing.